Meanwhile, let's bring in retired FBI supervisory agent James Galliano. He's been covering the case for us on the ground, and he joins us live right outside of Nancy's home in Tucson. You heard Griff talk about the fact that the people who were detained yesterday, all of them were let go.
Was turned back over to the family. The guest frames these steps as normal for complex investigations. He also claims investigators are dealing with a very large volume of tips or active leads, citing a figure of 30,000. He then explains why a stop-and-release approach can occur. In his telling, the key distinction is whether police are doing a custodial interview, where Miranda rights apply and questioning can be halted if a lawyer is requested, or an investigative interview that's less formal. He also describes modern interviewing as more open-ended and psychology-informed than the old good cop, bad cop stereotype many people associate with TV. On warrants, he notes the difference between arrest warrants and search warrants. Arrest warrants are tied to probable cause that a person committed a crime. Search warrants are tied to probable cause that evidence may be found at a location. He adds that there was talk through sources that the warrant might be federal rather than local, and explains that federal involvement could change which office is running the legal process. Finally, he discusses forensic timelines. He suggests lab results can sometimes come back in roughly 48 hours, but emphasizes it depends, and says evidence being processed at a contracted private lab out of state could complicate or slow comparisons, especially when trying to run DNA through national databases. If you're an average viewer, I think it's completely understandable to feel whiplash watching updates like people detained and then everyone released. A lot of us instinctively connect detention with guilt, even though the legal reality is more cautious. In everyday life, if someone is pulled over and questioned in a high-profile case, the public naturally assumes law enforcement must have something. So when that person walks free, it can feel like either incompetence or a cover-up, when it may simply reflect the limits of what police can prove right now. At the same time, the segment is also a reminder that investigators don't always get to act on what they suspect. They have to act on what they can justify legally. And that can produce outcomes that look strange on TV, searches that don't lead to immediate arrests, interviews that end politely, and evidence collection that happens quietly while everyone online is demanding instant results. One viewpoint is reassuring. The guest is essentially saying, don't overinterpret every visible move. A traffic stop might be about gathering information, not making an arrest. An impounded car may be more important than a dramatic on-camera confrontation. A search warrant might be part of eliminating possibilities, not confirming them. Another viewpoint is more skeptical. People might hear phrases like sources on the ground or see uncertainty about whether something is federal or local and feel that the public is being asked to trust a process without getting clear answers. And frankly, that's a reasonable discomfort. In big cases, communication is often limited to protect the investigation, but limited communication can also create a vacuum where speculation thrives. What I take from this clip is a basic tension. The public wants speed and certainty, while investigations prioritize accuracy and admissible evidence. Moving too fast risks accusing the wrong person or jeopardizing a future prosecution. Moving too slow risks public anxiety and a sense that nothing is happening, and then there's forensics. The guest describes DNA and evidence handling as a multi-step chain involving custody rules, lab work, and database comparisons. If that's accurate in this case, it explains why results aren't always immediate, and why law enforcement may keep circling back to people and places without making a public-facing move. The calmest, fairest way to watch stories like this is to treat early investigative activity as signals of work, not proof of conclusions. Detentions don't automatically mean guilt. Releases don't automatically mean innocence. Warrants don't automatically mean a breakthrough. They mean investigators are trying to turn uncertainty into something solid enough to stand up in court. Until officials release confirmed findings, the most responsible stance for viewers is patience. Stay informed, notice what's confirmed versus what's suggested, and resist turning incomplete information into a final narrative.